Alrighty, so as I talked about during the intro, and I'll say it as many times as I can, this is now the fourth time I've tried to make this video, and it's mostly because it's complicated. So what I'm really going to do is bear or keep faith with the initial challenge that I received, which was to take the leadership hypothesis that I have and then apply it to the Army leadership manual. Then, of course, we found out there are many. So what I'm going to do is as I go through this, each one of these little chapters is going to be different lengths depending on which version we're doing. I'm going to take what's sort of principle about the document and then compare it against the thing. So very exciting. And you're going to have to forgive me. I'm going to be flipping back and forth on screens and whatnot. So don't hate me for being silly. All right. So first thing we're going to do is go through the opening premise. Of course, this is the PDF of the FM 22-1. And I just love that they got Omar Bradley on here. It's so cool to read something that's, a historical document. Anyway, so we're going to get right into some definitions and stuff. So the first thing that it has is, what is leadership? So it says it's the art of, now, first sentence, it's the art of influencing human behavior. It's not the system. It's not the process. It's not the checklist of influencing human behavior. But then it says the next thing, this is where, you start arguing fine points if you want, but it says right here that leaders are born, not made, and leadership is intangible. Okay. So then it says these are at best half-truths. I agree with that. So leaders are born. Yes. If we go back to what we've talked about this entire series, leaders, people that have the leadership talent are born with that talent. Right? What I think this means, if you go and think about, history and whatnot else, is that, that person was born and everybody's immediately going to love them and respect them. No. Right? Leaders are also made. Okay. Do we agree with that or not? It's been a year. Well, it's not a year. It's been many episodes now where we have said, look, these people supposed to be leaders, gone through all the training and all the schools, and they're still not good leaders. What do you think? Right? I don't know. You tell me. And then leadership is intangible, but only to the extent that we make it so. So I don't understand why they put that in there. It's not intangible. It is like a talent. I mean, like we talk about all the time. Not everybody can play the piano. Not everybody can play the violin. Not everybody can be a great painter. Not everybody can be a great writer. Not everybody can be great at anything, right? We say that all the time, but is it true? No, we have no evidence of that. So why do we apply it to leadership? And then this next little paragraph, I don't agree with. I mean, it's sort of a throwaway line. And then here's the point where we talk about a couple of assumptions that don't add up to truth. So acquaintance with the elements of leadership can be acquired by any reasonably intelligent and forceful individual, no matter how inexperienced they may be. Yes, you can become acquainted with the elements of leadership. Can you apply them? Any person, I mean, this was 1948, right? So any man with a reasonable amount of intelligence and a little initiative can study, practice, and learn the elements of leadership, just as he can study, practice, and learn any other human accomplishment. True. The man who tries with all his intelligence and energy, who profits from his mistakes, can learn faster. Okay, true. But the thing that we leave out of this is, can they then apply that? Yes, I can teach you the steps, right? What have we talked about? The leadership's a talent. There's the 4 characteristics, 4 pillars of the character, leadership character that you need: integrity, humility, vigilance, empathy. There you go. You've passed the test. Go do it, right? That's the problem. That's where we have the problem. That's where the talent comes in. You can teach anybody about art. You can teach anybody about music. You can teach somebody to pass a music reading test. Can they play? All right. So here, great points, right? Responsibility of military leader. So take out military. Like I said during the beginning, leadership is the same. There is no difference. The responsibility of the leader, take out military, is twofold: accomplishment of the goals, mission, and responsibility to their personnel, to the people in their business. That's what leadership is, right? Attune competence, people, and environment in pursuit of a goal. That's it. No leader is fully prepared for their job unless they clearly understand the dual nature of their responsibilities and the importance of that. So this is a great line. I love this. This is 1948, once again. Some seek to enjoy and expand the privileges and prerogatives which go with rank without accepting its duties and responsibilities. Such an attitude comes from most often inexperience and lack of knowledge of those duties and responsibilities. Privileges and prerogatives are given a leader to help them do their job and not exalt their ego. How many people do you know that are trying to get promoted just so they can get more money and just so they can get more prestige and just so they don't want to be in charge. They shouldn't be in charge. They're no good at being in charge. And so people want that because we're rewarding the wrong thing, right? For those of you that have seen the discussions that I've had with Seth, if we make the most prestigious and the most rewarding job the big boss, then the people that want prestige and money are going to go to be the big boss, not the people that want to take care of their employees. So down here, welfare of your people is a leader's second most important responsibility because the effect of their morale and their consequent ability to accomplish their missions or their tasks at a job. To summarize some of the main points, all leaders must develop sincere interest in everything affecting their people: their food, their clothing, equipment, sanitation, health, recreation, entertainment, personal problems. It's vitally important that leaders give much more than lip service to these things for two reasons. We talked about that with integrity and empathy and humility, right? You got to take care of your people. Who does all the work? I repeat it a million times. You're a leader. Congratulations. You have one job. There are how many people in your organization? Every one of their jobs is just as important as yours. Sometimes, well, most of the time more, right? And so then we can scroll down some more. This talking about making sure you have clean food. This was talking about the Army. Care of equipment, right? Teach people to take care of their stuff. So here you go. Here are some of the indicators of how you're doing as a leader. And this talks about this for the Army, but it also applies to the civilian world. Successful leader is one who can develop spirit and morale in their people, in their organization. Both are based mainly on pride of the individual and themselves and their unit, organization, right? It's just translate. Each soldier employee must come to believe that they are a fine employee and their unit is the best in the company. They're the best at whatever. Because then the leader can go around and start becoming, this is a great line here, to develop this pride, the unit leader must be a perfectionist in their attitude towards training and all duties. They must not be satisfied with mediocre performance. To start with, they may have to accept it for a brief time, but they must never be satisfied with mediocre. Used to say it all the time, right? How much better are you today than you were yesterday? If it's 0.5%, I'm on board. A little more might not be bad, but you don't have to be 7,000% better every day. Then it talks about some indicators of whether or not you've got a good unit by how many times are people sick and calling out and not feeling well, and what sort of thing do you do stuff for the morale of the team, and does nobody show up? That's a fun one, right? Hey, let's do this cool thing to promote unity, and then nobody's there. You got a problem, right? And then down here it talks about a soldier's problems may often seem trivial to a commander person's employees, but hey, that's their problems, right? There's all of this stuff. There's a human being, and here's their interface with your job, this one point. There's all of the same garbage that you have going on in your life, they have going on in their life. And whatever is the most important to them other than the job is important, right? So you come down here, definition of leadership is the art of influencing human behavior. All right. Perfect. So then we talk about prerequisites for leadership. That's kind of interesting. But then you get down here to qualities. And for that, we're going to go over to PowerPoint just because it gets messy and I'll start talking forever. All right. So what I've done, I'm just going to go through this real quick. Yeah, there you go. So qualities of leadership. And then what I did is I took the quality of leadership and then I took what characteristics, of the four pillars, the philosophy that I keep saying, but it's really, I think it's the four essential characteristics of a leader. And then I also took the personality type from the Big Five. So there's 2 chapters you have to watch if you haven't read them yet or watched them yet, which is the chapter on the philosophy or the video on the philosophy. And then the chapter on, I think it's chapter 6, version 6. I'll link them up here if I can figure out how to do that without messing it up. But you go watch those 2 videos and then you'll understand this. But I took what the Army talks about and then the characteristics of that. So knowledge. Know your job, right? Well, this is the thing, right? Knowing what you know and knowing what you don't know is important. So that's vigilance. Do I know everything I need to know about this job? Do I need to know all the things that can impact this job? Empathy and integrity, because sometimes it's your gut feeling. I know enough stuff to make a decision based off of what I know about the environment and all that sort of stuff. And under the Big Five, that's openness to experience and intelligence or intellect, which is being able to take a bunch of disparate things and form them into a decision, right? Highly recommend that you go take the personality test go look up Understand Myself and pay the $7 and take the personality test. So judgment, vigilance, empathy, integrity. And this is also industriousness. So judgment is being able to make a decision, being able to come to the decision as soon as possible, and then also making sure that you're doing that in line with what you want for the organization. So once again, vigilance, empathy, and integrity. They're all right there. Tact is easy. Humility, integrity, empathy. So sometimes you got to tell somebody they're not doing well. Sometimes you got to figure out how to influence the boss because the boss is being a tyrant or doing something dumb. You got to figure out how to tell them that while still being tactful. So the best way to do that is to be humble about it. Even though you might be 100% right, you can't go in there being cocky. So that's humility, integrity, because it's the whole thing. Treat somebody like you want to be treated. And then empathy. Put yourself in their shoes. How do they want to hear it, right? It's all there. Endurance. So endurance is an individual characteristic, right? That's the whole, we're going to get this job done. We're going to fight. We're going to do all that sort of thing. And endurance to me is an interesting thing because you can still go too far. You're still a human being. So a couple times in several previous jobs, I said, look, this is high execution time and I'm going to be running around like a crazy person. Please keep an eye on me, because if I start acting loopy or I start making bad decisions or you see me get this crazy look in my eyes like I'm becoming overwhelmed, tell me to drink some water, take a break, eat something. But endurance is, you have to keep going because people will immediately quit the second that you do. Initiative, vigilance, and empathy, right? So here's what's going on. Here's a catastrophe that's about ready to happen. You're paying attention. If you're being a good leader, you're watching your environment, you're watching below, you're watching around. Something needs to be done. You can make that decision. That's vigilance. And then integrity, because it has to get done. Who's going to do it? Bearing, individual, and integrity, right? If you're not, and I say integrity because bearing in the military is a little bit different than in the civilian world, but hey, I'm not going to treat people disrespectfully. I'm not going to talk down to people. I'm not going to do, so here's all that stuff. You make that one a part of your environment and then you keep with that. You can't tell people don't be disrespectful and you start mad-mouthing everybody. Courage, that's individual. I don't know that that's a characteristic. Dependability, easy. It's integrity, right? I am going to get this done. Okay. Justice. So justice is easy, right? Humility, that's all of them. Humility, integrity, empathy, vigilance. So are you going to crush somebody's soul for some minor offense? Are you going to hand out crazy punishments all the time, because if you hand out one crazy punishment, then you have to do that all the time. My rule was if you did something that was catastrophic, you got a catastrophic punishment. If you did something silly, then most likely it was explain to me why you did something silly, and that's it. And don't do it again. But you can't crush somebody's spirit for the small things, because then you have to crush everybody's spirit for the small things. And then what happens? Then people are just terrified to make a decision. Enthusiasm, that's individual. And enthusiasm is, under Big Five, is there's a thing in the Big Five about enthusiasm and low withdrawal, right? And then integrity, easy. Unselfishness, humility, and integrity. Unselfish. So these are the qualities that were called out by the Army manual, but realistically, it's integrity and vigilance, empathy, and humility. If you have those 4 characteristics, you will do these things, except for courage and endurance, maybe, and enthusiasm. But then over here under the Big Five, if you remember, I think it might have been the solution chapter, where I talked about here's the personality traits of a leader. Well, these all are directly from the Big Five. So judgment, industriousness, tact, compassion. Not super high in compassion, but compassionate enough. Initiative, assertiveness. Bearing. So I put down volatility. So if you were low in volatility, then you're going to have a pleasant bearing. But if you're high in volatility, then you're running around rampaging, throwing stuff, which nobody likes if you're the boss. Courage, low neuroticism. So there's a neuroticism scale in the Big Five. Dependability, conscientiousness, and industriousness. And then enthusiasm, like I said, is right out of thing. And then low withdrawal. So there's sort of the 2 things that my philosophy or my hypothesis is founded on, which is these are the characteristics that make up a leader, that essential characteristics, the 4 pillars, the philosophy. And this is stuff directly from the Big Five. So I think that if you have good character, take the personality test, and you are high or low in any one of these, that means that you've got the ability to be a leader, but you still have to go watch somebody perform it. But these are things that'll get rid of the chaff. If you have somebody that's super high in neuroticism, super volatile, not assertive, and completely closed-minded, they shouldn't be in charge, because that's not the ability to lead, right? Okay, so we're going to go back again. I apologize for the flipping back and forth, but this is the easiest way I could think of doing it. Now we're going to scroll down, get all the way down here to the bottom. And what I found interesting, what's a little annoying, is that there's 3 summaries at the end of this. It's like every one of these, I am sure that they were written by a committee, but then nobody sat down with the whole committee and read through them and said, hey, should we have 3 summaries? Anyway, you get down here, end products of leadership. This is great. But it gives you, I know I hate checklists, but it gives you a way to evaluate how you're doing as a leader. So or how you can look at your boss, or how you can look at one of your subordinates, right? This says do a self-assessment. You can do a self-assessment too. But here's your knowledge. Possesses unusual learning and comprehension, lacking in information, inclined to bluff. So that's knowledge, right? Because what's the worst thing? I read a great, unbelievably amazing quote today. You get yourself in a corner and you're in a tight spot. Damn, we're in a tight spot. If you know what that's from, you're a movie buff. Get yourself in a bad spot. The thing that will save you from that tight spot is the stuff that you don't know. And if you don't have any humility, you don't have any integrity to admit that you don't know, you're going to stay stuck in that spot. Unbelievable. I read that today and my jaw just dropped. I said, holy smokes, I'm making this video for the 4th time, and this is a great line. Decisiveness, ability to make prompt and correct decisions. Except, so here's superior and unsuperior, or unsatisfactory, I guess. But what a great guide. Hey, you want to be able to evaluate somebody? Here it is. Okay. Um, Now, so yeah, it says here, how do you stack up? But then what's kind of nice too is you get to the end and it says, look, these are ways that you can tell that you've got a good organization, which is all the way back to the problem video, right? Chapter 1. So morale is the attitude of the unit. So if the morale is high, which means that people are happy to work, they're working hard, they're doing extra, their sick rates are low, you've got high morale in your organization. That means you have a good leader. If you have good discipline, which means people aren't talking back, people are being good to each other, people are doing all of their tasks all of the time, then you've got a good organization. But you go back to the stuff we talked about in the very beginning. And then knowing your people, you should know your people, right? I saw this. There was a thing when I was in the Army that was, you need to have a book with everybody's information in it. And I was going, do I really need to know everybody's information, or do I really just need to find out what's the most important thing to that person, or what one or two of them are, and then make sure that those are taken care of? Because I don't necessarily think I need to know somebody's sock size as if I'm in charge of 30 people. I've got, when I was in the Army, I had a platoon sergeant, 3 squad leaders, 12, so 6 team leaders, right? So I have all these subordinate leaders. Let the guy that's in charge of 4 people know 90 pieces of information. I didn't need to know somebody's sock size. I'll go ask their team leader what their sock size is. And we used to do that. Hey, I need who needs what. Get a little list, put it all together, and away we go. Because then those leaders, that's what they care about. But at the leadership level, you should know what is the most important thing to your people. 1 or 2 things, maybe there's 3 things. And then make sure those are taken care of, because you'll know. Somebody says, the most important thing to me is my cat. And then they come to you and say, my cat's got to go to the hospital. Let them go take care of the cat. But somebody says, the most important thing to me is my cat. And they come in and say, hey, my bonsai tree's dying. I need to take the day off. Really? And then you get down here. So let's go to the final summary, because there's summaries after summaries after summaries. Actually, I think I put that on the PowerPoint slide. Yeah. Sorry. So summary over here. So this just tells you again, morale is the mental attitude of your people, right? Like I said, take out man, take out men, take out army, put down people, employees, organization. Discipline, getting the job done, knowing your people. And then here's the thing, right? If you are the boss, how are you going to know what the morale is? How are you going to know what the discipline level is? How are you going to know your people? It's not from your office. Even if you're one of the introverted leaders, you still go out and talk to people. Or you set up a system where you get to interview all of them. I don't know. Figure out how to do it. But you got to know your people. Right? We're not machines. It just doesn't work. And then, so this is the summary. I guess I should read through this because I keep forgetting about people that are listening. So morale is the mental attitude of, I'm going to do the editing myself. So morale is the mental attitude of the people in the organization and everything associated with it. We foster good morale by fostering spirit and pride of the individual and of the group. The little things mean a very great deal in their effect on morale. Discipline and morale are inseparable because the best discipline is self-discipline. The individual does what he knows is right, or she, because they want to do the right thing. Discipline of this type pervades the life of an employee, from the courtesies of daily association to the assault on the battlefield, or in the daily business. It wins battles, or it wins the day, or it gets the job done. Know your men, know your people. To be able to influence their mental attitude, to lead their minds, you must know what they think and how they feel. You must enter into their lives, their hopes, fears, joys, sorrows. In their relations with their people, the wise leader walks the thin line between friendship and familiarity, and at the same time is a parent, brother, father, confessor to his people or her people. Great line. I was at Officer Candidate School, getting ready to graduate, And we are in Net Hall, which is the Hall of Fame for Officer Candidate School. So if you got the Silver Star or made it to the rank of Colonel, you got your picture on the wall. Very cool. Well, named after the guy named Colonel Net, Medal of Honor winner. He, still alive in 1990, many years ago, comes in to talk to us. So here he is wearing his Medal of Honor, and people are asking all these questions. And I honestly can't remember if I asked the question or if somebody sitting next to me asked the question. But I think it was me, because everybody was asking sort of inane questions, you know. And I said, what's the most important thing about being an officer? And he goes, good question. He goes, you respect your superiors like your parents. You take care of your peers like your brothers and sisters. And you care for your subordinates like you care for children. And the rewards and promotions will take care of themselves. I wrote that down and I quoted it ever since. It's just amazing. And when it says care for your subordinates like their children, it doesn't mean baby them. How do you treat a kid? You got to push them. You got to grow them. You got to help them out. You got to give them guidance. You got to make sure that you're taking care of them and help them grow. So good. And then, be careful of discontent. So last little bit to notice about this version. What have I done? I have done too much. Oh, I know what I did. I'm sorry. So you get down here to the end, and there's the summary again. But then here's another checklist. And again, leadership's a philosophy on a checklist. I got it. But if you go through here, here's a way to evaluate your subordinates or your boss or yourself, right? How do you do a punishment? How do you do rewards and punishments? How do you do discipline? Right? How do you praise people? How do you deal with individuals? How do you recognize the importance of work of members of your organization? Know the individuals of your organization. Build pride in your organization. Welfare of people of your organization. And then promotions. How do you do that? So there's a checklist here. Do you do it or do you not? But it's something that at least gives you a guideline. How am I doing? But guess what's funny about all of these? Every single one of these is performance-based. You can't fake any of these, right? And if you get them wrong, they have an impact. And then here's the third summary. And that's the end of it. So 44 pages long, 1949. So I will link where I downloaded this from in the notes for this video on YouTube. But it's an Army document, so there's not some sort of a copyright problem. But there you go. So in 1948, they got it mostly right. And it also shows that the stuff that I'm talking about for what you need for a leader is there. It's all called out. I'm not going to give away any spoilers, but over the next few versions that we go through, you'll notice that there's kind of a distinct change. All right. Thank you so much for your time. I know this might seem a little niche, but honestly, if you go through and read it and just replace soldiers and men and he with he or she, employees, and organization, it's all the same stuff. And how do I know? It's because I did this stuff in the Army and then I didn't do it, and I did it when I was in the civilian world. Exact same way. Okay. Thank you so much as always for your time. And like I said, hopefully you find these interesting. Please leave comments if you do. It's sort of a project that I got spurred on for, and I found it fascinating. It was a lot of reading, and so I'm going to provide these results. And then at the end, the very end of all of this, I think will be a neat discussion. Okay, that's all for now. Hope you have a great day.